Hello, gonna do another video requesty. This one's from a Robin Ann. Here's a new requester. Welcome to the Kyle Pound Show, Robin Ann. Okay. So you could either be a boy or a girl. It's one of those names. Kind of like Pat. Is Pat a boy or a girl? Or Aaron. Okay, Kyle, I'd like to invite you to share your thoughts. I know what you're thinking. Kyle's a double sex name too? Sort of. I've only heard of one woman named Kyle. I'd like to invite you to share your thoughts about the luminous body of the human soul. After cycles of reincarnating, it seems that negative impacts of experiences cause humans to, like a bug in a computer program, cycle in misprograms in the form of tendencies, distorted perceptions and behavior, etc. We find ourselves now in this rare and peculiar point in human evolution where we can no longer stay in the same density in which we have. With that, what are your thoughts in clearing, are you a Scientologist? In clearing the negative imprints in the luminous body, aka akashic records, in regards to the active work of fully energetically clearing the dissonance rather than simply focusing on positive and ignoring negativity. It seems to be simplified in the new wave. I would also invite you to speak your thoughts about the degradation of the Earth's energetic power points like acupuncture points of energy, and the relation to the systematic annihilation of indigenous people and the ancient wisdom of the elders. By the way, I have only just come across your videos a week ago and want to say thank you for sharing your insights and reflecting the power of being open and raw in your own experience and perspective. Well, thank you. Yeah, me too. Me Reiki. Okay, zoom out. Flip that so I'm not looking at myself to get distracted. Okay, I'd like to invite you to share your thoughts about the luminous body of the human soul. Well, there's a poetic way to put it. You mean your soul? Your soul, otherwise known as your luminous body. Yeah, man, I think that we are spirits having a physical experience, not physical chunks of meat having a spiritual experience. You know, all of the original ideas and stuff and that you have come from your soul, that then translate into your brain through your pineal gland. Or, well, I mean, that's kind of the filter to keep you focused in this world. But, and also, yeah, to translate your soul into your brain. And then the brain is like a computer that can then translate your ideas into, this very focused world that we live in here. And even your past life memories, I don't think that's a genetic cellular DNA thing. I think that's a soul memories. Now the whole conversation, what's the difference between your genetics and soul? Your body is a manifestation of your soul, so your DNA is as well, and DNA is very complex. If you unravel one chromosome in the center of each and every cell that we have, your hair or your spittle or whatever, it can go around the world like 3 times or something, and so that stuff can remember instinctual stuff, but all of your past life memories and understanding the past and having dreams of the past, that's not in your DNA, man. That's your soul DNA. That's your soul. But in this day and age, our soul is becoming our DNA is becoming closer to our soul. Like we're developing more strands of DNA. 2 more strands of DNA. Actually, how many do we have now? 2? We're developing more strands of DNA that are actually kind of like half in the spirit world, so which can then pick up more you know, psychic data and everything. And it's made out of, it's more crystalline in structure and nature. And there is life that's crystalline life. Was in the bottom of the ocean and the heat vents. Anyways, sidetracked. Okay. So after cycles of reincarnating, it seems that negative impacts on experiences cause humans to, like a bug in a computer program, cycle in misprograms in the form of tendencies, distorted perceptions, and behavior. Yeah. Yeah, I think the way that I would look at that is, well, I wouldn't consider it like negative impacts of experiences. Well, okay, well, let's just talk about this. Negative impacts of experiences. Okay, so negative impacts will make you have misprograms. So negative impact, so like a negative experience in a past life will give you a, make you have a negative habitual pattern. And distorted perceptions and stuff. Well, no, I think in my idea, the way I see it, distorted perceptions and, you know, fucked up ways to behave. I think that is more has to do with our culture than it does to do with your particular soul. I mean, it has to do with your soul as well, but as we go forward in time, our society becomes more complex and the rules change, and the way that we need to look at the world and cooperate, and, you know, the laws we need to have change. You know, like in the past, autocracy works because we don't have the resources for everybody to know what's going on and to communicate. As everybody becomes more educated, we need to become more and more democratic, and so the world has to change. But the people who are used to being in power, they want to keep their power, and then the people who, you know, who can see that we need change, they have to fight for it. You know, and historically, the aristocracy never gives up their power. You have to wrestle it from them. That is more of a you know, cultural thing. But as far as past lives carrying on to your present life, I heard one psychic person say once that 20% of the issues that you have are from your past life. And the card filled up. I need to get bigger cards. I can't delete the stuff on those cards. They're like write protected, even though I switched the thing back and forth. Anyways, what was I talking about? Yeah, so problems that you have that carry on from past life. I think that we do carry on problems from the past life, such as, well, I don't think it's good to look at it negatively. I think we carry on stuff, positive things from our past lives, and the more negative things that would kind of, you know, make you like a once bitten, twice shy, you know, make you kind of, you know, make you have negative reactions to things. I think that's the kind of stuff, those kinds of memories don't really come from other lives as much as being created in this life as a child. And that's one reason why it's important to treat kids really well in their formative years until they're 6. The kind of stuff that would carry over from a past life would be your interests, the positive things, your interests. If you wanted to be a poet or a musician in one life, and you didn't get into music until your later years, and you did it for a couple of years and then you died, that desire would carry on into the next life. If you were a racist against black people in your past life, that racism would not carry on into your current life. You learn that stuff from your parents growing up. those little biases and negative stuff like that. Personality, different personality archetypes, you know, like the badass leader who doesn't take shit from anybody versus the really patient, diplomatic, spiritual teacher who is soft and tolerant of everybody. That kind of stuff carries from life to life, and just like I said before, and just, you know, you play it out and you get really good at it, and once you get good at it at a certain archetype, then you move on to the next one. And I think we bounce around from archetypes. It's not like one personality archetype is better than the other, you know. You move around, you know. But as far as, you know, like negative impacts of experiences, I don't think that kind of stuff goes from life to life. That's stuff you learn in this life and learn from your society. Now, we should look at different societies as kind of like their own soul, you know, like the country of France. You can trace the zeitgeist, the general mindset of a country like France, up forward in time, and you can have you can psychoanalyze a country the same way you can psychoanalyze a human. You can say, you know, France in the 1600s was very autocratic, and the 1700s very autocratic, and so they got freaked out about that, so they had the rebellion and became very democratic, and it went too far into the democratic side of things, so they had to find the balance. And, you know, it's kind of like that, you know, you could say that about a person, you know. You know, this person grew up a drug addict, and then he decided to get away from that, so he decided to go totally clean, and now all he does is eat totally pure food and doesn't do anything in the other extreme. Yeah, so different. And so if you're born into a country, you adopt the karma of that country, the aura of that country, the tendencies and stuff. And all the negative, like biases and stuff, the country would give that to you, and the country remembers it, because the country's not dying and being reborn again. The country's living on and on and on and on. And so those negative little paranoia things or whatever, it's from the country, and it's, you know, it's not from the people being born into it. That's why you die in the first place. You die so that you can wipe your slate clean and all these little hatreds and biases and fears and you know, wanting to get revenge on whoever and all this kind of stuff. That's the whole purpose of dying. You die and you wipe it clean, and then you're born again, and you don't carry any of that negative stuff onto the next life. So, you know, so, I mean, you do bring stuff to the next life, like your interests and who you are and stuff, but not the negatives, not the negative crap. It's kind of like, you know, when you're making essential oils, so you throw a bunch of, like, you know, flower petals, rose petals into water, and then you boil it, and all the rose oil comes up, evaporates up into the tube, and then travels into the other tube, and then falls down and drips out into the next tube. Well, none of the heavy particles from the rose petals are going to make it into the other vat. Only the purest of the pure goes. And so, like your soul, you die and you have all these negative biases. Well, only the purest of the pure can get reincarnated into the next life, because it's your soul. It's your luminous body, the lightest part of the existence of the universe travels through there, and you can't bring baggage. It's too heavy. Baggage, you know, little like grudges and this kind of stuff, that's heavy, dense stuff, and so it can't go. Now, as far as although, you know, I went to a psychic once, and the lady was like, "Oh yeah, I can tell a lot of people hate your guts because they remember in past lives you were their lord and you would punish them severely, and they remember that, and so they decide they don't like you." And she's like, "Yeah, well, my husband's the same way." And I was like, "Huh." And I thought about that, and I was like, And it's true. I mean, a lot of people do, like, get agitated and don't like me for no reason. But, and I was thinking, like, could that be the reason? Did they remember me? And I think, in terms of that, what they remember is just maybe my energy signature. Maybe I bring over a certain energy signature of, like, maybe overly confident or aggressive, even though I don't see myself like that, but independent-minded, and that triggers a response in them because they're not used to that kind of energy, and it gives them their own little past life memories of being abused or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's complicated, but for the most part, you know, and I read this book called Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss, and he was interviewing people, he was hypnotizing people, and they were sharing their past lives with him, and people did have a lot of their pain or certain problems in this life did stem from other lives. Like there was this one woman, and she had a past life memory where she was a young boy in a raiding party in the Vikings, and she got hacked to death by the enemy before she even got out of the boat, and because of that, she was like afraid of, I can't remember. Oh, you know, like if somebody have gotten like drowned in their previous life, they'd be afraid of water in this life. You know, or if you fell off of a cliff in another life, you'd be afraid of that in this life. I went to a psychic once, and they said that I died. One of my recent lives, I died on a very steep cliff in a battle, and you know, I've been to lots of psychics, and they always say the same thing. It's really trippy that I was a Native American in my last 4 lives, and I had a really strong affinity with Native American culture all growing up. I don't right now, but you know, like when I read Black Elk Speaks, it was almost like it was having a past life memory the entire time. But I every once in a while, and I haven't had them for years, but I used to have nightmares where I'd be like climbing a steep hill, and then it gets steeper and steeper and steeper, and then I'm about to fall off. And so, yeah, maybe fears, the terror that you would get right before you die, like on a steep cliff, could carry into the next life and make you afraid of heights in the next life. Yeah, so yeah, I think that kind of stuff can carry over in lives, but as far as biases, and stuff against other people, you know, in general, I don't think does. I've been listening to Dianetics, Scientology book, and this guy, he's a nut job, L. Ron Hubbard. He was saying wacky stuff like, we have tooth pains in this life because we evolved out of shells, and the shells, you know, who they make pearls. They hurt their teeth trying to process the pearl, and so that's why we have pain in our teeth now. And this kind of stuff is it's interesting to philosophize about. I mean, that's totally false what he says, but yeah, it's a cool thing to talk about. Anyways, this is a difficult. Wow, good questions. Okay, so what else did you say here? Okay, misprograms in the form of tendencies, distorted perceptions and behavior. Yeah, see, the words you're using, tendencies, distorted perception and behavior, that kind of stuff doesn't come from other lives. That's stuff you learn from your society. And, you know, the culture and the people you grow up in. See, like, distorted perceptions and stupid behavior patterns and stuff, they die really hard. It takes a long time for this stuff to get weeded out. You know, like, for example, black people, they weren't given any freedom or power, and they were abused and stuff for so long, and then they finally set free in 1860, and then they're sequestered until it's 1968 and all this kind of stuff. It takes generations for them to like become, a lot of those in the ghetto and stuff become socially responsible, feeling like they have a sense of social responsibility and, you know, and trust and all that kind of stuff, and thinking for themselves. It, you know, I mean, we're social animals. We're extremely influenced by our environment around us, you know, as kids, as our brains are forming. And, you know, if your brain is forming and you can change it and all that kind of stuff while you're growing, but once it's formed, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Once it's formed, it's hard to program that stuff out. But that stuff is formed, I think, in this current life. All those, what you're talking, the words you're using. We find ourselves now in this rare and peculiar point in human evolution where we can no longer stay in the same density in which we have. With that, what are your thoughts in clearing the negative imprints in the luminous body? The akashic records. Oh, so now you're saying the luminous body is the akashic records. Okay. See, the akashic records is totally different from your soul. Your soul would be your light body of you as an individual. Akashic records is the zeitgeist. It's the internet of the mind. It's the layer of energy surrounding the earth that holds all of our collective data, all the memories that we've all had. We store them in two places. We store them in our personal soul, any memory we've always had since the beginning of time. You store it in your personal soul, but you also upload it to the soul of the human species surrounding the planet. So if you ever want to log in to, if you ever want to mind read what Julius Caesar was thinking in 58 BC, then you could tap into the Akashic records and you can read Julius Caesar's mind as though you are having a past life memory, you know, thinking that you're fucking Julius Caesar when you're not. You're just tapping into Julius Caesar's memories that he uploaded to the Akashic records. Which can cause a lot of confusion, make people think that they're the same person in the past life. And it also makes it extremely complex and, you know, difficult to determine who is who in the past life. Because our minds and the data from our minds gets thrown into this giant pool of knowledge that it kind of makes us all, like the Borg, like we're all one species, one mind. But it is possible for us to, you know, maybe in about 350 years, we're going to develop the technology, according to Bashar, to, not Bashar actually, Bashar, this other spirit, Ella or something, that Daryl Anka was channeling. Yeah, we'll develop the technology to exactly know up into the thousands of lives, which lives we had in the past, and just map it out and analyze it and all that kind of stuff. It'll be a whole new industry. Okay, so luminous body. Okay, clearing the negative imprints in the Akashic records. Okay, so how do you clear negative imprints in the Akashic records in regards to the active work of fully energetically clearing the dissonance rather than simply focusing on positive and ignoring negative? It seems to be simplified in the New Age wave. Okay, well, you don't want to clear it. That's like deleting files on your computer. You know, like maybe there's old files on your computer that you're not interested anymore because you've outgrown them, you know. Like when you were a little kid, you were into Wonder Woman and Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk cartoons and stuff. And you don't watch that anymore. Well, it doesn't mean that you're going to want to delete it off of your computer hard drive, you know, because you want to have it all there. You have if you have the gigabyte or gigawatt whatever gigabyte storage on your hard drive, which we do on the Akashic records, it's infinite. Then why would you delete it? All you do, I mean, it's like it is as simple as the New Age wave. Focus on the negative and positive, ignoring negative. It is that simple. That's as simple as it is. You know, just because it's stored somewhere in the Akashic records doesn't mean that we're all like going to be sucked into it like a black hole and have to pay attention to it. Just means that it's there. You see, if you're stepped far enough away from negative imprints in the Akashic records, it's not going to have any like power over you like crack or heroin has over a crack addict, because you stepped far enough away from it. It's in the past. And you know, when you look at it, you know, like when you look at Wonder Woman and Incredible Hulk cartoons you used to watch when you were a kid, you'll look at it in a totally different way. You'll notice things you didn't notice before, and you'll look at it from an objective point of view, like a scientist studying fruit flies or something. You know, you'll look at all of the negative imprints and the negative biases and the this and the that, and you'll go, oh, wow, yeah, interesting. You know, and you'll understand more, and, you know, in a way that you could never have when you were in the heat, you know, when you were living in that world and influenced by that kind of stuff. That's why aliens travel all over the cosmos to study other planetary systems and all that kind of stuff. It's just for the curiosity to gain a deeper understanding of all the various life forms in the universe. It's not, you know, it's not like they're going to go travel to some other planet and study some, you know, primitive life form that they came out of millions of years ago. And then all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh no, now we're monkey people, like beating each other's heads over with the club just because we're watching them do it, you know? So it really is just as simple as focusing on the positive and ignoring the negative. Now, if you focus on the negative and it takes you over, well, and guess what? You didn't actually grow out of it. And you, in that case, maybe that's what you're talking about. In that case, how would you wouldn't delete it from the akashic records or anything like that. You would just separate yourself from that. You know, like if you haven't drinking for 6 years, but you know, if you took a sip, you'd become an alcoholic again. Yeah, you stay away from it. But that's the same thing as ignoring the negative and only focusing on the positive. You know, now I think that's what you're saying. And now if I'm understanding your questions, not completely, you're more than welcome to give me as many follow-up questions to this as you want. Yeah, but I think I'm pretty much answering you. In regards to the active work of fully energetically clearing the dissonance, yeah, you don't... If you want to clear... that's a word Scientologists lose. If you want to clear negativity from our world, what you want to do is understand the mechanics behind it, you know? That was the whole power of the scientific revolution, was that now we're understanding stuff, the mechanics of everything. And the way to understand the mechanics of stuff is by communicating and allowing every single human being on this planet, all the different kinds of people that there are from all the different cultures and all the different ages and personality types, to throw their 2 cents in, and to, you know, and to allow their voice to be heard, and which creates a really solid understanding of everything. Kind of like, you know, our brain has, I think it's 20 billion brain cells in our brain, and we have 7 billion people in the world. And it's kind of interesting, like, well, maybe something magical will happen when the planet has 20 billion people, because then the planet will be like a brain, and we'll be all like brain cells, and then we can all become integrated. And I mean, an integrated brain is powerful. We only use 10% of our brains now, and we can't really understand everything. And, you know, and only maybe 0.1% of the people in the world are sharing their ideas on the internet and stuff, and on YouTube. But when everybody's doing it, then we're all exposed to all the different kinds of ways of thinking about stuff, then we'll figure it out and we'll understand. And that's how you you clear the dissonance. You know, there's dissonance between people, misunderstandings between people, because they're not communicating with each other. You know, so then they have this idea about somebody based on their own biases that they grew up with, and the own ignorance of their soul. And I don't think that there's no, it's not like they brought negative shit from other past lives concerning other people. It's just that they're ignorant. They never experienced it. You know, but you plug information into people, and they talk, and they all have their own voice where that energy can flow in and out of them and communicate to other people. That will get rid of the dissonance and create harmony with everybody. Communication and education. That's all it is, man. Okay, so I would also invite you to speak your thoughts about the degradation of Earth's energetic power points, like acupuncture points of energy. Okay, I've actually haven't heard that. The only thing I've heard regarding that is that the North Pole is moving closer to the North Pole. Magnetic North is in northern Alaska, and it's moving towards the geomagnetic North Pole, where the axis is at a rate of like 12 kilometers a year or something like that. And people are like, oh shit, like when it actually gets to the geomagnetic North Pole, is that when we're going to have a pole shift? Which happens periodically, and we might, I mean, it's very possible we could have it in one way or another, you know, within our lifetimes. So what are my thoughts about that? Now, I'm not familiar with any data apart from that. If you wanted to actually have some solid data on whether or not the, you know, energetic power points of the Earth are getting weaker, you can look at like a place like Marfa Lights in western Texas. If those lights start to get dimmer or go away, then that's a suggestion that the magnetic power is going away. If the northern lights stop going south, you know, if they start only existing around the North Pole, there's a suggestion that the magnetic power is changing. My idea about that, if you know, and I guess that's what's happening. That's what you're talking about. My guess of why that's happening is that our planet is becoming more low density. It's becoming a lot more connected to the higher frequency energy in the cosmos, as you know, as we ascend and we're getting to a new valence level of understanding. And you know, we all know that we're getting that way technologically, and technology relates to the spiritual world. It's all tied into the same thing. So, so energetically, if we're going to be more intelligent and, you know, a lot less hatred, you know, in the air and the akashic records, you know, and the zeitgeist and everything, then that would also have a physical effect, kind of like our DNA developing new strands of DNA that are crystalline silicone strands of DNA. You know, our light and our physical body becoming, you know, lighter, and our diet actually changing, and us being healthier off of just raw food, like just fruits and vegetables, rather than, and you know, and if you eat like a meat too much and cheese and stuff, it'll just make you feel sick more than before. Yeah, it's just a readjustment of the whole, you know, magnetic energy lines around the Earth, and it's just adjusting a little bit, you know, like a chiropractor would adjust somebody's back. And you know, maybe these places, the PowerPoints would, the locations of them perhaps would, I don't know. Anyways, so anyways, okay, of the Earth's energetic PowerPoints, like acupuncture did, and the relation, and you know what, maybe that's not getting, maybe it's not getting degraded, but it's just getting more subtle. It's getting more, the heavy, dense energy is going away because we don't need it anymore. And the new energy coming in is more light. And so it can't be detected by our heavy machines that only detect the heavy energy, you know. But the light energy is stronger, though, the stuff that our actual human minds can connect to. Okay. And the relation to the systematic annihilation of indigenous people and the ancient wisdom of the elders. Dude, don't be a conspiracy theorist. There's no systematic annihilation of indigenous people. It's not, okay. All right, like the systematic annihilation of indigenous people. I'm gonna assume that you're referring to like, you know, like modern culture going into Papua New Guinea and trying to set up telephone lines, you know, all over the island, and sewage lines and stuff like that. that's not annihilation of indigenous people. That's trying to bring their technology level up to our level to help them, you know, so that they're not dying of poison, of like dirty malaria infested water. You know, they can have clean water to drink, and they can have telephones and internet and education like the rest of us. Now we're not trying to like take away their cultures. We think their culture is cool. We go down there and we film them getting naked and painting themselves and throwing sticks at each other in their little ritual battles, and you know, we love that. We eat that stuff up. We like to get high and watch it on the Discovery Channel and stuff. As far as giving Indians poisoned or what's it called, smallpox infested blankets, I think that was an accident. I actually had this argument with my brother like a week ago. I think that was an accident. I think, see, we didn't realize how susceptible they are. And I'm sure a lot of people, I'm sure there were some people who did that on purpose. But it wasn't like, but it definitely wasn't a directive given down from the King of England and the bosses of us. We were trying to get along with the Indians, and we're you know, people are good. People aren't evil. My brother was trying to tell me that the Trail of Tears they all died in the Trail of Tears because Andrew Jackson deliberately gave them smallpox infested blankets. And I didn't really have anything to say to that because I'm not really up on that part of the history. And he said he knew because he remembered from high school or something. But, you know, yeah, I know there's people who do that. I mean, and nowadays there was some guy who was busted trying to give AIDS to a bunch of black people in Africa, some racist white dude. Oh yeah, there's definitely people like that. But it's not systematic. It's not some kind of Illuminati, like, you know, conspiracy theory where they all get behind Bilderberger Hotel and decide how they're going to kill all the black people. When they get behind Bilderberger Hotel, they discuss how they're going to keep them all in all of their own little tight-knit set of businesses and families and power. But not take responsibility to kill everybody else. Now, there could be some people who do that, you know, like Ted Turner with his Georgia Guidestones. In the future, we will only have 5 million people on the planet. But dude, these people don't get together and talk about that stuff. You know how sketchy it would be to bring that up with your rich friends? You know how much of a dick that would make you look? And what happens if they start telling their friends and then you get outed? They don't talk about that stuff behind closed doors. They don't care. They like having lots of third world people because then they can make money off of them. They talk about how they're going to keep themselves rich. That's all. Not how they're going to kill all the black people in Africa. That's my opinion. Now, if you want to argue with me, we can have a two-way on that. But, you know, people are generally good. They're just greedy for themselves. But they don't want to go out and get those other people. You know, I mean, the Nazis tried to go after the Jews, but that was out of desperation, you know. It wasn't trying to make it wasn't like they came up with the idea themselves, and Germany was all hunky-dory before that. And, you know, these rich people are not desperate. So if they're not desperate, why would they take it upon themselves to go and kill off half the planet? They don't feel that kind of social responsibility. In fact, I don't think they feel a whole lot of social responsibility at all. People like Bill Gates do. That guy's really cool. Okay, anyways. You know, people who are really smart and really rich because of their brains and intelligence, those people have a lot of social responsibility. You know, like the guy who invented, like, Google or whatever, you know, these people. Now, people who were born into it and inherited some big oil company or whatever, yeah, those people, don't trust those people to try to have an open enough mind, smart enough to have any kind of social responsibility. But, yeah, so it's not black and white. Anyways, I got sidetracked. Okay. Ancient wisdom of the elders. Annihilation of ancient wisdom of the elders. Dude, where are you getting these ideas? Why? Who wants to get rid of ancient wisdom of the elders? Nobody would want to do that. Not even the rich ass, spoiled brat, you know, bosses of multinational corporation who was born into the money is going to want to systematically destroy the wisdom of the elders. Not even like the Indians or the blacks or the people in Papua New Guinea. They're going to want to protect that. if it's anything that they're going to want to try to get praise for being a nice person or some kind of philanthropic person, it would be to protect that. There's no reason, because there's no financial gain that you can get for your family, for your rich extended family, by annihilating the ancient wisdom of the elders. That's just another aspect of history. The ancient wisdom, you know, like the Hopi prophecy and stuff, Hopi legends, all these like cultures who didn't have written language with their legends and all that. Any and everybody would want in this day and age would want to preserve that because it's interesting, you know. I mean, back in the 1500s, when the Catholic Church was piling up books of Mayans in the Yucatan Peninsula and burning them, it wasn't like that was a different world back then. They were doing that because they were trying to have Spain and Catholicism control everything, and they were ignorant in those days. A lot more ignorant than we are now. The only people who would do that kind of stuff would be, you know, like some, you know, illiterate guy. But, you know, I don't think there's many intelligent people in positions of power today who think that burning all of those Mayan books was a good idea. That was just the political world that they lived in there. They were trying to gain power. Yeah. Okay, by the way, I have only just come across Well, yeah, man. Thanks, and communication is good, and you're more than welcome to send me a follow-up question as long as you want to this video, and I will answer you again. So I think I've talked enough on it. And how many long time did I talk? Ooh, 33 minutes. That's not too bad. Okay, peace out.